believe I'm recording. Yes. Red dot flashing. It's 3:07 right now on Thursday, the 13th of August. This is a makeup class because we missed a week because I had a power failure. And looking back, I could have worked around it. Didn't think fast enough to run the house off of an inverter. So I canceled the class for that Tuesday. And so anyway, today we're gonna catch up on our, or we're gonna complete our final projects. Okay, this is an old project. Let me go, okay, here is the final project we're doing today. And why, oh why, does this text go off the paper? There we go. 3 students have already turned it in. And I think one I graded as perfect. I tried to look the other way when, these crosses in the middle of sniper scopes or crosshairs in the circles. So I kind of let some students slide on that. Notice that the center mark from the diameter dimension kind of overrules the red plus sign from the generated or created by the 2 red center lines. Anyway, let's get ready for class here. I'll reduce my grading table. Okay, we need to, what do we need? Not sure we need any handouts, but I'll check the classroom for week number 9 to see what I put here. Okay, just the deliverable. I hate it when that happens. How can I rotate? This handout is identical to the layout I got. Shown in AutoCAD, so I guess there's really no need to show the handout. Reduce it to give more space to AutoCAD. Better get NanoCAD up and running. 3:10 now for week number 9. Thursday, 13th of August. And, whoop, what happened? Widen that. We'll reduce the AutoCAD so I can easily toggle between the 2, AutoCAD and NanoCAD. Maybe I'll open up another instance of the final project. Okay. Guess this is it. See how it opens up, how the final project opens up in NanoCAD. And that is not the final project. All right. cancel that. Go to File, Open, Finals. Why didn't I pick that one the first time? Usually, less than half the students get the same area and perimeter that I do. One student, I think, had the area 1/10,000th of a unit off. And well, that's not worth the time to investigate. $313. Double check I'm making a recording. Oops, I'm working on the intermediate handouts. Let's see, where are we? 2020 winner. Come on, Burgener. Okay, Aaron is coming aboard. And yes, we are creating a recording. Last week's recording is up on the, what's it called? My shared drive, my drive, whatever, in the classroom. I'll close this out. Aaron, how you doing? You see you got your mic turned off.
I'm doing good.
I feel a little bad. I can't promise we'll use an IntelliCAD workaround or work alike for the intermediate class. I'm waiting to see how the class evaluations come in. And from there we'll determine whether trying to use both CAD systems was a annoyance to the consensus or was welcomed by the consensus. I need to go back, check my email. There was a way that using our nnschools.org email ID, there's a way we could get free forever IntelliCAD. I don't remember if it's the current IntelliCAD or an old IntelliCAD, but I might look into that and encourage students to use their nnschools.org email ID. I forget if you had to send an email using it or you had to use it as a user ID. Somehow you had to have that nnschools.org email address working to get the free AutoCAD. Whoa, got 4 coming in. Sorry to keep you waiting. Elizabeth and Ali are coming in. Got 3 down. Still expect Dan and Sally. Who else? So again, this being the 9th class, I'll help you out with completing your final project shown on the screen. And time permitted, I'd like to go over some of what you're going to get into intermediate coming up in a few weeks. So I've been working on these handout pages for the intermediate class. And I can start with lesson 1 of the intermediate class, or jump ahead to viewports. Our final project would be to generate a birdhouse. This is an old list here. I think I'm up to 12 rules. But the birdhouse is to fit in a title block that I'll give you. Unfortunately, the birdhouse that I used the last time is a bit tall to fit on a landscape title block. So I'm in the process of lowering the roof and raising the floor and trying to get it to fit the landscape handout. Let's see, this would be the, let's see, where do I go? Views. Be the right side view. So I think if I click there, yep, it's looking at the right side of your birdhouse. And why am I unable to get the view cube? Generate the front view here. You know, always something, ain't it? All right, I'll do it the manual way. UCS, enter. Let's see, I'm looking in the at the XY plane, so I want to create a UCS that's negative 90 degrees from the x-axis. So click on X option, type negative 90, and nothing happened. All right, I'll type plan. And there, always something. Nope, let me undo that. Type UCS again and X again. Or better yet, go back to the world UCS. Okay. I still think it should be UCS should rotate about the x-axis by negative 90. Got the cube in this one. Why does it not appear in this one? Interesting. Only appears in this one. Well, another way is V point. From x-axis. I think I want a view coming from the 225 angle. From the XY plane 45. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, almost. Let's see, change this to minus 45. Invalid angle from x-axis. All right. What's 360 minus 45? 325? 315. Mm, 325. Oh, 315, I think. There we go. Okay, Alexandria is coming in. Oh, we got 323 already started. For those of you that just tuned in, I think we'll finish up our final project. 3 have already turned it in. And lower that a hair. And so far, the 3 that came in are acceptable. So those 3 are just going to kind of wait to see a preview of intermediate. And depending what the consensus of the class is, I can cover this viewport concept. Okay, that viewport is locked. So if I unlock it, we can talk about viewports. Each of these yellow viewports is looking at our 3D model from a different angle. Now it does, viewports are also good for two-dimensional work. These are probably all locked. Properties. I want to go to the viewports and I want to unlock them. So even though these are in, our work was in 2 dimensions, we can develop a little, 4 views in the same layout. So you can see your entire floor plan, for example, and zoom in specifically on the say the kitchen for greater detail. Let me undo before I get things ruined. I think we're back where we were. Let's see, is this locked? No, it is not locked. So I'll undo another step. Now I believe all the viewports are locked. So I can't go into the viewport and mix up, stir up the view. Anyway, getting back to class, where's some difficulty with those of you, Alexandria, Ali, Aaron, what can I show you if you're stuck on a part of the final project? Somebody turn off your mic and let me know what I can show you for completing the final project.
Hey, this is
Ali,
Ali.
what you got?
So I'm almost done. I'm just, I want to find the area and the perimeter.
I'm sorry. Okay. I had my, you want to find the area and the perimeter. Okay. I forgot I had the volume turned down. So I got it turned up just in the right time. All right, let's go back to, this is the model tab. In the intermediate class, we'll get into the paper space and layouts and viewports and all of that. So after completing all the green stuff, I suggest you copy it over to the right. Let me demonstrate that, how to do that. Tuesday, I forget, were you with us Tuesday? Holly?
Yep, yep. I was here Tuesday.
Okay, I'm sorry. On Tuesday, I believe I used the isolate layer command so that every other layer except the green object layer would be locked. Dan is coming in via cell phone. Hey, Dan. Ali's asked to go over the area and perimeter again. Anyway, since that isolate view or isolate layer, where is that? Right here. That isolate layer really wasn't in the curriculum or content for this class. However, you do know how to simply freeze. We gotta make the current, gotta move the, make the current layer object. So double click on object, and while we're in here, the layer property manager, I'll freeze all but the current layer. Click OK, they're gone, and I'll copy everything I drew on the green layer some distance over here to the right. Now I can come back and thaw all the layers, double check that I got space where I wanted them, or space between the views. Now that I got a clean shot at all the green stuff, I'm going to trim away and erase away so I have just this open area here. Okay, obviously all these inner holes will be erased, so I'll get them out of the way quickly. And let's see, how can I get there? Well, the jelly bean will be a little bit more difficult to erase, but that's okay. So I got rid of those that are of no interest to me to get the perimeter and the area of this shape. Now I need to trim away. I got to erase a few tiny little arcs. Yeah, I think I'll erase that arc at the top. I think now everything is to be trimmed away. So I'll hit escape to get back to type a command prompt. We'll click the trim icon, hit enter so that everything is a cutting edge, and then go around the object, shaving off pieces that do not contribute to the shape for the soundproofing or vinyl label or whatever we're going to coat this thing with. So I'll double check. Nothing else that I click on or I rest my cursor on lights up. So I believe if memory serves, I got them all trimmed away. And I got a clear shot now to weld these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pieces. Let's see how many there are. I'll begin any modify command and select them all and hit enter. 14 are found. I'll undo to restore them back again. 14. So the next trick is to weld all of these arcs and lines together. There's two commands we covered to do that. They're both on the Modify panel drop-down list. I briefly covered this join command, which is a quick and dirty way, but I think you benefit if you use the more comprehensive tool, the Edit Polyline icon, because not only you can weld stuff together with it, but you can adjust the polyline width even segment by segment if you want. Plus you can snakeify a polyline with the fit or spline options. So let's concentrate on just one tool because it's so versatile. I'll click on this edit polyline icon or type PE enter if you're quick with a keyboard. Command prompt says select the polyline. You can click any one. Doesn't have to be the oldest segment or the the first or newest. So click any one of them. And AutoCAD comes back with the object selected is not a polyline. Do you want to turn it into one? With a suggested yes answer. Well, of course, that's why I'm doing this. There might be a system variable that'll disable this annoying question because I've never answered it no. Anyway, I'll just hit enter to answer the question. Yes, I want to convert that one arc into a polyline. Now that I've got one of the 14 pieces converted to a polyline, it's time to use the join option of the polyline edit or edit polyline or p-edit or pe-enter command to weld everything that's joinable to the one segment that I just converted to a polyline. So I can click on join option here. I believe I told you day one I'm going to try to use a right click to get to the options. So either way, I'll invoke the join option. Don't forget you can type J enter. Some options have 2 letters you got to type. Anyway, one way or another, I'm going to invoke the join option of the p-edit command. Now it says select objects you want to weld. It's tempting to click get all the way around all 13 remaining pieces, but being incredibly lazy, I'm just going to window them all with a crossing window. And there's no harm done if you over select. Only those objects that are joinable will be worked on. It will be welded to the original. So don't feel like you have to select the 13 and no more, no less. I'm going to over select. 50 were found. I'll hit enter to say I'm done selecting objects. Only 13 were weldable. Those are the arcs and lines all the way around the green perimeter. While we're in here, I think it's kind of worth a couple seconds to invoke the width command to watch the entire thing fatten up. And that gives you a little bit of a warm and fuzzy that you've succeeded in doing what you wanted to do. I'm not sure what the scale is on here. Well, maybe you say a width factor. I'll swell out all the polyline widths by so that they're all 5 units wide. There you can see it all swelled up. I can undo or invoke the width option back again just to keep things razor sharp with a 0 width. Aaron. Okay, Aaron, I thought you were with us. Might have gotten disconnected. So that's fine. We're done with the p-edit command. So I'll hit enter to, oh, no, I'll hit X for escape. All right, why does it not, there we go, enter. Not sure why, mine didn't react. Anyway, click on this thing and sure enough, it's got the 14 segments all the way around. So it is a single object. Now that we use the join option of the p-edit command, I can select any piece of it and the whole thing is selected. Now, area and perimeter are properties of this single welded together polyline. So if we select the polyline, right click and go to the properties of the selected object, Get this out of the way. There's our area and length, meaning perimeter. Right here, they're kind of gray because indicating that you can't modify this guy simply by typing a new area. I don't know, it seems to me if I typed exactly half of that area, it would do the arithmetic and scale it down so it's so the area is half of what it was, but AutoCAD doesn't give you that option. So these are the two numbers. You can write them down on a piece of paper. I don't believe you can select them. No, you can't click and drag across to copy paste them into text. So we'll close the properties after having written those down on paper and demonstrate another way. I'll hit escape to deselect stuff. The list command, which is on the properties panel, does give you the same area and perimeter numbers or length numbers, but in the text window, not in the properties window. From the text window, I can copy paste the text to put it into mtext. If you prefer, LI is a quick and dirty type-in way to get to the list command. So while I'm here, I'll click on the list icon. Command prompt tells me, hey, select the objects you want to get the data for. I'll hit just the one closed polyline. That's all I want to get information on, and then I'll hit enter. This is a big object, so you got to get through all the 13 objects, you got to hit enter a couple of times until we get back to command prompt. I'll hit F2 to open up, or hit this upward arrow. I thought I could scale this guy. Something must be set differently. But by hitting this up arrow, or go back to F2, scroll with the mouse wheel until I get back to the top of this list of information. And where are we? Right there are the exact same numbers that we saw in the properties window or panel or palette, whatever it's called. So by using the list command, we can copy paste what we see in the text window here. So with those words selected, I'll hit Control and C. I think I can right click and pick copy just as well. Now they're copied to the Windows clipboard. I'll click in space. Sally is coming aboard. I'll admit her into the classroom. Where was I? If you've already got a piece of text made on these contract requirements here to the left, by all means, just copy that text object and put it right here for the area. So that way both of your pieces of text follow the rules for the text properties using the style and justification and everything. Anyway, to revise this text to say the area and perimeter, simply double click on it. Opens up the text editor. I'll select it all and hit Control V or right click and pick paste. Now remember, it's got a lot of blank spaces and garbage that came in with the copy paste. So I'll narrow it down. There's the area, backspace to get rid of all these blanks. And to perfectly follow my handout, okay, you know, if you put perimeter on top instead of area on top, as I think my handout does have, that's unimportant. So we'll lose that and move our text right like the handout has. Apparently this is masking. Let me double check. I'll reach in. Okay, let me move it. I must have, okay, there's a way on text you can mask text so that it whites out everything that's behind it. And the way you do that, there you see it whited out a little bit of the object and the dimension line. That's a property of this text. We didn't cover that in class. I just did it, you know, I don't know why I did it. Maybe I didn't want the dimension line to cut through the blue, so I masked the text. Anyway, right click and whoops, select the text, right click and go to the properties of the text. And right here is where you can get a background mask. That's as far as I'll go with that. I think first time you change it from no to yes, opens up and it asks you to specify the background color and line weight, you know, property, kind of like in Adobe. You can specify the fill and the line of a rectangle or a text window. So, Ali, did you follow that? I might have gone a wee bit fast.
Yep, I got everything.
Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Anybody else need help? You know, I really don't expect you to get the perfect area. You know, again, you know, half the class or less make everything perfectly. And, you know, every time I do one of these, I got to do it twice or several times until I get the same area and perimeter multiple times. Oh, okay. You know, Tuesday I messed up because it turned out that this kidney bean here was a couple thousandths off in the vertical position, and that was throwing my area and perimeter numbers off slightly. You know, when you zoomed in, you could see there was a slight gap between the center lines of the circle and the guideline. So I'm not sure why it affected this dimension. Maybe I O-snapped on the center line, or anyway. It's in yellow. I believe it's on a non-printing layer that I had in there, so I don't accidentally print it out for students to simply copy it off the handout. But what's another question about the handout? And I'm going to be lenient on the little plus signs here. I used only one red layer of center line. And each and every line or arc drawn on the layer name center is assigned a specific line type scale multiplier factor in its properties. Before we go there, let me type LT scale or LTS enter, and it's simply 1, which I think would probably be wise. You know, if we all agree to keep LT scale 1, it'll be easy to, you know, share drawings with other people and copy paste items from one drawing to another. anyway, getting back to the properties, I'll hit escape to get out of that command. Select an arc, right click. Yep. Looks like I got to get off of the object. Right click, go to properties. And right there is the line type scale. Again, I wish they'd called it something besides line type scale, because at first glance it looks exactly like LT scale. But this is really a multiplier factor that works along with the global LT scale to determine how many gaps and lines are in your center line or phantom or hidden. So that one's 40. I'm not sure what this one is. Let's right click. Yep, that one's 40 also. Hit escape. These I think are going to be a little bit less. Let's click on one of them. Nope, that's 40 also. There's two side by side here. 44 for that one, and probably, oh, this one's 60. I had to tweak it until I finally got the little red plus sign in the middle. Again, since I really don't know how industry makes center marks in circles, you know, again, there is the center mark icon right here on the annotate tab. But again, you have to make adjustments to how big the whiskers are outside of the circle. And you have to make adjustment for each and every circle if you want the circle to be the extension to be proportional to the diameter as I like. The more I'm researching, I don't think today's CAD operators really care about plus signs. They, you know, they make it good enough so that the machinist knows where to strike the center punch and save money, you know, save whatever, $20 an hour or whatever the CAD operators are making. What else? I think I saw some of you had the dimension lines pass through the red plus. And if it printed out in black and white, you wouldn't see the plus sign there, because the purple dimension line, for the sake of the angle dimension, would cover it up. But again, I went pretty lenient on nitpicking the plus signs and, you know, the gaps in the middle of the center lines and all. Okay, I got, I think, Elizabeth, Dan.
Hello.
I don't know who's talking.
Who's Dan?
Oh, okay, you're on phone.
Sorry, my cell phone mute. I got to mute your sound because it reverbs through. Apologize about that. Hey, we had a question about grading for our work that we have passed in. How does our grades reflect?
I make absolutely no record for grades, at the risk of exposing people's grades. You know, here's my spreadsheet of everything. Where I can, control enter. I'll zoom in. You know, I gave you an X if you attended that week, and if you did the homework for that week, I simply put a yes. And, depending on what mood I was in, I might have added a little note of little nitpicky things I wrote in the email message back to you.
Oh yeah, okay.
Here's for week 4, I put down perfect or yes. So it's either a pass or fail to answer your question, Dan.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and
Okay.
clear. No feedback. I don't know if that's something on my end or your end. But
It's my end. Like I said, my cell phone, the volume was on, and it was going through both Sally's computer and my cell phone.
Okay. That makes sense. I've gotten on some Zoom meetings with a annoying echo that you can hardly concentrate on what you're saying.
So did you have any more questions from the students?
No, Ali asked how to calculate the area and perimeter.
Yeah.
And I showed that, and hearing nothing else, I got into assigning an LT scale multiplier factor to each and every center line. So instead of my usual 3 layers of center lines, I've been teaching for 20 some years. I just made a single layer of center lines, just one. And each and every arc or line has a specific line type scale multiplier factor in its properties.
Yep. So one of the things that I've had a real challenge with on the job is generating hatches for cross sections of views. I haven't been very successful at it. And if anybody else wouldn't mind, it'd be great if you could maybe do an example of that.
Sure can. Let me double check that the finals are on their way for me to check them. I've been told I can send the list of students who get certificates as late as midnight on Sunday, so that Sherry gets them first thing Monday morning. So for the few of you that have not turned it in yet, I think half of you still owe me. You got till you can keep working on it while I'm doing the cross-hatching demonstration. Maybe chime in and I'll return to the final project if you find anything I can help you with. Don't forget you can grip edit the dimensions after placing them. And again, dimensioning is kind of an art form. Every textbook has a list of things, guidelines to obey dimensioning, but it's not unusual to come across a case where they all cannot be obeyed at the same time. And it gets down to economics. Nobody's going to pay you an extra 20 minutes of wages to satisfy all the guidelines these days. Anyway, to answer any question on the final before we go to cross-hatching?
Yes, I was wondering if I could see the layers one more time.
Certainly. Right here is the contract requirements for layers. To answer your question, I believe there's, let's see, there'll be 2 extra layers, 0 and def points. Oh, and I got a layer for the viewport for other stuff that I don't want printed out. So here is listed 4, and there are 7. Okay, the three extra viewports, which is an intermediate topic. Def points, which, like it or not, you're stuck with it. It comes up the first time you place a dimension, and I don't know that you can ever delete the def points layer. I don't think you can even rename it. Let's find out. Well, I stand corrected. That surprises me, but you can rename it. Let's see if you can delete it. Yeah, it looks like it's still, AutoCAD still thinks it's the def points layer, even though I renamed it. Try again for good measure. Yep, interesting. Anyway, 0, which virtually nothing should be on 0 with the exception of your title block and repetitive symbols that you make. That'll be an intermediate topic. So I got 0, I got the def points and viewports or V-ports. I believe these colors match the contract, line type and line weight. Again, you can rig any layer with the exception of def points. You can rig any layer to print or no print by checking this icon in the plot column. The def points layer, okay, I was about to say that you cannot print stuff on the def points layer. I'm not sure what'll happen. I won't take time, but def points is rigged to never print out. And recent AutoCAD allows you to rig, your custom layers to print or not. So back in the 90s, CAD operators would put notes to themselves and their CAD operator buds on def point layer. Sleeping well at night, knowing that they'd never be read by the boss or the client on paper copies. All right, let's continue working on your final project or tune in for appetizer for intermediate. Here's my drawing for the first class of intermediate, and we cover cross-hatching first day. Everything else covered the first day is repetition of your introductory training, and I do this partly to inform or show the students that are not prepared yet for intermediate that, hey, you really ought to take introductory again. So by the end of the first day of intermediate, they, if they're struggling with creating these layers, and if they're struggling drawing the machine part, I might see them in the introductory if we're not, or only going to offer intermediate in the fall. So, if you can't do the first day assignment, welcome to stay, but might be wise to wait until the next introductory. Anyway, to answer the question, let me go back to model space. And here's the stuff that I showed in the viewport. I'll type plan, enter, enter to look straight down on the XY plane. And we will delete this cross-hatching. I was once told to teach the software, not engineering graphics, but there's if you slice your object in half with a bandsaw right down the middle, That generates what's called a full section view. A half a section view is if you lop off a quarter of the object. So one side looks exactly like one of the orthographic views, and the other side that you cut through, so you can have a half section, and just simply cross anyway. Let's see, hatching is color 40 on continuous. Let's make current the hatching layer. So I'll go to hatching to set current. I don't know that, can't remember. I don't know that there's a requirement for which pattern and which scale to use. Wonder why not. So I guess your mission is just to match the handout. Anyway, cross-hatching is here in the lower right corner of the draw panel of the home tab. Let me be getting a little off on a tangent, which I may get criticized, but that's okay. Boundary is how to put this? It's possible. Let's go back to our final project. You might be able to generate the polyline here by simply cross-hatching the shape to form a boundary. Maybe I should show that in introductory instead of the p-edit method. I have used it before. Gradient is something new that came out. I got little use for it. It's kind of artsy stuff. Leave that to the architects. Engineers and designers do without gradient. Anyway, getting back to the showing, let's click the hatch icon. BH is a type in for boundary hatch. Not sure what H does. We'll click crosshatch. Notice that the entire ribbon morphed into a dashboard for cross-hatching tools. I forget how many of these, I think they're called contextual ribbons. That happens when you invoke the mtext command. And I'm sure there's some others, but can't think of them now. Anyway, this you can follow them in order of the command prompt, or just work off of from left to right on the ribbon. Well, let's work left to right on the ribbon, which is pretty close to following the order of the command prompt. Pick points. If you got a closed area, like this closed polyline, you can hit select and pick the closed area. Let's get back to our class, or day number 1 of intermediate. Where was I? Click hatch, click pick points. And there are 3 areas that we want to apply this cross-hatching to. So simply click within those 3 areas. And that defines the areas. There's a little bit of complication. Yeah, down here, like if you got a bunch of concentric circles, circle, 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 do you want every other circle to be cross-hatched so there's a white space between all the rings of cross-hatching? I imagine that comes up pretty rare, but you can select different options to to how it handles these islands in the middle. I don't think anybody, I'm not even sure if there's an option to say disregard. Anyway, we selected the area. Next object is select the pattern. solid was really nice. That came out in I think the late 90s. And other CAD systems had the solid fill long before AutoCAD. Anyway, my advice is try to stay on this fairly generous palette of crosshatch patterns. Now, before I select one, keep in mind that these swatches, or these wallpaper samples, if you will, are not all drawn to the same scale. The crosshatch patterns for the material, for the metals, steel, I think there's one for aluminum, or aluminium as they say in Britain. I think ANSI 32 is aluminum. ANSI 31 is steel now. No, that's cast iron. I don't know what these others are. But anyway, these ones that are for a specific metal or material, how to put this, these squares are like, they're very small squares. But the architectural ones, the brick, cinder block, roofing, those might be 48 inches by 48 inches. Because you have to have an area big enough to show the cinder block or the brick. So be aware that the architectural ones, you have to have a much bigger area to get what you want than just machine parts. Anyway, I think the handout used steel, didn't it? Maybe it was cast iron. Let's say it's steel. By the way, you might be saying, well, why is steel not the simplest pattern? Why is the simplest pattern for cast iron, and the double lines is for steel? Somebody once told me that there was cast iron long before there was steel, and drafters chose the simple, just simple parallel lines for cast iron because they didn't know steel was coming. And then 100 years later, whenever steel came out, okay, do we maintain tradition and leave the simple one for cast iron? Well, yeah, that's probably going to cause the least confusion. So anyway, that's why steel is not the simplest pattern, because cast iron came first. Anyway, pick whatever pattern you want. Next step, double checking here. Consider the angle of your cross hatching. Now notice by default, the steel pattern is already at 45-degree angle. But internal to AutoCAD, this is not placed at 45, it's placed at 0. It's like it's wallpaper that you start at the bottom of your wall and roll it up. Of course, wallpaper's out of style, but it's like the diagonal lines are printed on the wallpaper. So you roll the wallpaper up at a 0 angle, it comes out looking at like 45-degree lines. You can change it to 30. Let's see, -45, I think will make them exactly horizontal. And it's good habit if you got a section view of like hydraulic actuators. I recall seeing a cutaway view that showed all the internal parts cross-hatched. It's polite to have your lines, adjust the angle for each different part. So it's easier to understand which parts move and which, anyway. Another adjustment to make is the scale of the crosshatch pattern. At a scale of 1, you're at the mercy of the area required for that sample. Again, a machine, those swatches are small for metal patterns, but large for architectural. I forget what I used on the handout, maybe 4 enter. Probably more than that, maybe 8 enter. And once in a while, I count how many lines touch the object line to, keep hit and miss until it matches what the textbook or the instructor says. On paper, you like to have things 1/8 of an inch. So I would say the dead center of the 2 together, the dead center of the 2 together, in the vicinity of 1/8 of an inch is comfortable or commonly expected. By the way, I should have object lines across these countersinks. Can't remember. I think this is one of your exercise from the textbook. Maybe I just replicated the textbook. Maybe change the scale to 12 and hit enter when finished. Close.
So, Paul, this is Dan. I had a question. One of the things that I was running into was if I didn't have a closed area, let's say you take and erase that pattern and do like a break in one of the lines. The automatic function doesn't work anymore, and
Right.
I was hitting like a roadblock. I couldn't find out where the gap was, so I couldn't close the area to make the pattern. Can you show me an example of that and how to correct it? Thanks.
Well, another problem might be at a corner. You got a little microscopic gap at a corner. Now, cross-hatching does have a little bit of a tolerance, but it's a good habit to have your corners perfectly welded shut. I'm tempted to, let's try doing a boundary in here and see if it stops, goes from this gap and follows the border all the way around till it touches this gap, counterclockwise or clockwise, probably counterclockwise. Let's see, go to the boundary. Pick points, click, boundary closed, cannot be determined. All right, I'm tempted to say the only way I can think of is go into the p-edit process and detecting it that way. Unfortunately, that would require opening up these T intersections. So we could use the break command to open every one of the T intersections so that the edit polyline process, probably the closer, the more you zoom in, the less these little gaps will show on the paper. Well, that's interesting. Looks like I got a line on top of a line there. Wonder how that happened. Break. Again, I don't believe I had the break command in this curriculum. p-edit or the join command. Yes, join. I'm at a loss on what these little round things are. Pretend I didn't see them. Let's fatten it up and see. So there you can zoom in at the end of how it fattens up and find where your gaps are. It's kind of a tedious process, Dan, but I can't think of a faster way.
Yeah, type it in.
Okay, yep, I understand. Join is the key, and then you pick one, and then it works its way all the way around? Or did you do a trap when you joined them?
I did a crossing window when I used the p-edit command to join them. Let me explode this guy. I'll demonstrate the join process. I think that you just, you click once and
Select source object.
or multiple objects. I'm not sure what happens if I window everything, if it'll understand what I want or not. 9 objects converted to a polyline. Looks like it was smart enough. Did it with a crossing window right away.
Nice. And then you change the thickness by going to properties.
Probably. Let's see where. Yep. Let's see. Don't know what scale I'm looking at here, so I'll say 0.1.
It didn't take in the box.
0.1, enter.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, maybe I'll try to remember that. In the past, I've fattened it up with the p-edit command and used the width option. Properties might be a click or two faster.
Oh, properties, okay.
I'm going to lose sleep on what these circles are. Let me do a list on them and see if I can get them figured out. Nothing has been found. So let's use one of the modify commands and use a regular window, and nothing was found. So that tells me it's a glitch with the display. Like like the octagons when you zoom in fast on a circle. I'm going to regen, and I think they'll disappear. So it doesn't answer what they are, but it gets rid of them.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Getting back to the circles, there is a thing called an AutoCAD point. Where's a point? And there may not be an icon for point. I don't think it's on a circle, no. Anyway, you can place points. This machine gun and points. What do they look like? Well, it's DDP type. Oh, I'm still in the point process. Okay, DDP type. Yeah. Forgive me, I'm not sure where to get this point size and shape definition without memorizing the type ins, but I can change them So instead of being a pinpoint or absolutely invisible, I can change them to any one of these. And then the question comes up, well, do you want the points to appear the same number of pixels no matter how far you zoom in? Or do you want them to, be as if they're, rectangles that look larger as you zoom in on them? And that's done by that can be set by the P edit. All right. Where you get to recent commands. There we go. Right click in blank space, and you can get to P type or DDP type. And this is right now they're set relative to the screen, so they'll remain the same pixels. Just change it to the other way and points. Hello. Let's make them smaller here. Say 0.2, enter. Now they, no matter how far you zoom in and out, they'll, they're measurable. Anyway, I thought those circles might be fluke points. So, does that answer cross-hatching, Dan?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Paul.
Again, be aware you can solid fill. While we're at it, cross-hatching is smart enough that it'll detect text and treat it like an island.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yep. Crosshatch, pick points. Rats. I gotta
extend that.
Yeah, always something, ain't it? I'm cheating a bit here for sake of speed. Okay, somehow I was on the boundary crosshatch. Let me start over again. Regular hatching. Click. Looks like the settings I had from the last cross-hatching stick. I'll hit enter to say, yep, that's what I want. Now check it out. If you retype this text, add some text, the whited out area grows with the text. That's a pretty nice feature.
That works with dimensions also, like say if you had an arrowhead in way of a crosshatch for some odd reason, does that also blank out the area for the arrowhead?
I'll have to try it. I'll try it, but just before I forget, you can move the text and the masking in the background moves with it. Before this there's another way, there's something called a wipe out. WIPEOUT, enter. I've done this a few times. I'm not proud of it. But the wipeout will kind of put a cloak of invisibility over an area.
Oh, that's cool.
Ain't it though? This is one of those cheat steps that when you hear the bell of the elevator of the client, coming on the floor of your building, it might be the last minute. Anyway, let's place a dimension. I've never thought about arrowheads. And for good measure, I'll move it to the dimensioning layer. We'll cancel out of dimensioning. I have a feeling it's not gonna recognize the arrowheads. Let's find out. Hatch, click, enter. Nope, totally ignores the arrowheads.
What if you move to front, like right click properties and then move the dimension or maybe the crosshatch to front?
Well, Paul,
Is that a property? I always go to draw. How's that, Sally?
does the text thing only work when the text is on there first and then the hatching? Or can you just pop the text in while the hatching is there and make it disappear?
Negative. It's
So maybe it's
has
the
to be
same
there to begin with.
So maybe it's the same for the dimension. Maybe it has
Well,
to
he just
be-
had the dimension and then he recreated the hatch and it didn't work.
and it still didn't work?
Yep.
Well, it appears that the magenta of the dimension is going to print out, not the orange of the cross hatching.
Looks like it's on top.
Right.
You could
Now,
cheat.
if
You
you,
could wipe out.
for whatever reason, don't forget you got this draw order process.
That's the one, yeah.
I can send the dimensions to the back of the stack.
That's it.
When you get into there you go. Orange prints out. When you get into the solid fill crosshatch pattern, be ready to use this draw order, because let's say you put the electric lines over the tennis court and then you go to solid fill. Anyway, generally you want your solid fill to be in the back, your dimensions and notes to be in the front.
That's key.
DR enter is a quick type in.
Good info.
Yeah, these down here I never noticed before. They may have come in a recent release. And I remember these for many releases.
Thank you.
My pleasure. What else can I show you? Well, we got some spare time. Well, until 5:45.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Let me do a appetizer for viewports then.
Yeah.
Dan, I think you might be the only one that's been using viewports. Viewports used to be one of the last topics in introductory, but then they knocked us down to 9 weeks instead of 10, so I bumped it over in the intermediate. But let's start a brand new drawing. We'll start from scratch with ACAD copy. A little bit of a story about that, but that's okay. We'll click OK. We'll cuss a couple times and turn off these things that keep coming on. Say we draw our, using an AutoCAD unit as a foot, say, I don't know, a 50 by 12 foot mobile home. Undo. And C for close. And say we got some furniture and stuff within our mobile home, maybe a bathroom sink. Anyway, say the client wants a single sheet of paper that shows the entire mobile home, and also on the same sheet of paper a view that shows the sink. I'm just trying to jury rig some some plumbing, you know, some detail here. Maybe the circle for the drain. So the sales brochure is going to show the entire floor plan of the trailer and a close-up showing how impressive the sink is. Well, the first time you click on the layout tab, you know, all these multi-views they live on layouts. The first time you click on a layout tab, by default, it makes a maximum size, or I shouldn't say maximum, but it makes a default size single viewport. So let's click on layout. Since all I got is the 0 layer, the viewport was created on the 0 layer. This box here is a viewport. Now the dotted line is the printable area of the paper, and the white area is the cut edge of the paper. So from now on, you're working fairly, you know, close to a plot preview, which is usually good. I don't think it's 100% plot preview, but it's pretty darn close to a plot preview. Anyway, by default, I'm at a loss on why it left a little white space here, but pretend I didn't see it. By default, it does a quick and dirty zoom extent so that all the ink in your drawing fills up the viewport. Now it's possible, now our hands are outside of the viewport, as if this is a giant picture window on the side of a store, you know, a Burger King or whatever. Our hands our feet and our hands, everything is outside of the Burger King or the store for the window. So we can take our can of spray paint and, you know, put our graffiti all over the glass in the building. Again, stuff that's outside of the dotted lines will not appear on the paper. So right now, you'd notice there's a blue triangle in the corner. That tells you your hands are on this side of the glass. And with your spray paint, you can spray two-dimensional. You can do 3D in paper space, but nobody's come up with a reason, you know, good reason to do it. A nice, neat thing about these viewports is you can grip edit them easily. And, short of the parametrics, which I've yet to teach, but short of the parametric stuff, I think viewports are the only shape that remains rectangular as you grip edit it. So I just reduced the size of the window that we're looking through by grip editing the window in the front of the Burger King. Now eventually we want to put our hands through the window and modify the stuff inside the store. We might want to push the stuff further to the back of the store so it appears smaller on the sheet of paper. Or we might want to pull it all the way up against the window so it's as large as possible. Before I forget, besides the triangle to tell you that your hands are in paper space, you know, outside of the window, you also got the word paper down here on the status bar. And with a few exceptions, the viewport is a fine line. Once you stick your hands through the glass and push and pull and rotate and edit and pan and zoom to get your model space stuff to appear well, in most cases, I just noticed an exception today, matter of fact, in most cases, the viewport turns into a bold line. So you got three visuals of whether your hands are inside the glass or you're standing on the sidewalk and your hands are outside of the glass. You can always go back to the model tab and add some detail. You know, I'll just add a little detail here to the sofa for what good it is. Go back to the layout and what you drew in model space. You can see through the glass window, the viewport into your model. Anyway, you learn quick the quick way to get back and forth between your hands inside the storefront and outside the glass is simply by double clicking in or outside. And double click there, and that made the viewport bold. I no longer have the blue triangle here in the corner. I got the old familiar UCS icon that you're familiar with from model space work. And the status bar says model now. Interesting, the status bar is tremendously increased in length. Not sure why that is. Anyway, while we're in here, you can do pan and zoom just as if we were on the model tab. So this viewport effectively is like a little mini model tab. You can zoom in and out and pan and maybe replicate this guy. You can double click in the viewport and pan and zoom and replicate the guy again. Zoom out. If you want things to appear smaller, you can go much closer than having the object appear in the window. You can zoom down to magnify it, so you're looking at a 1,000th of an inch area. Why does it turn octagon? Well, that's the architecture of AutoCAD. RE enter fixes it. It'll print perfectly round, but your displays sometimes shortcut by using octagons. Anyway, getting back to the exercise, let's say there's the floor plan of our mobile home. I'll double click and I'll make a second viewport that shows a close-up of the sink right here. I typically copy the viewport, but you can make another one. I think vport is the type in. Or mview is another type in. Anyway, you can make a single viewport this way. Let me see if I can find the icons. Layout. Okay, we're on, there we go. On the layout panel, you got a nice icon where you can make a quick and dirty rectangular viewport. Now the analogy deviates from a storefront window looking into the McDonald's. And now you can think of these as separate television sets. And I always like to think of the talk shows. There might be a half a dozen television sets in the producer's booth that are all connected to different cameras. So that one television set looks at, I forget who Jay Leno's replacement is, Jimmy Kimmel. Anyway, looks at the talk show host. Another one looks at the guests. Another one might look at the audience. each one of these television sets can be connected to a different camera that can be remote controlled. So we might want to have a close-up of the sink in the sales brochure for this mobile home. Double click outside. And the next thing comes up, well, how do you get rid of these black lines? You don't want them to appear on the printout. Well, that's simply a matter of making a specific layer that does not plot. So my advice is to create a layer called V-ports, assign it a very faint color like yellow. My handouts, I pick a darker shade so it does print out. Yellow is almost invisible. And rig it so it does not plot. It just occurred to me you could create your viewports or move them to the def point layer, but don't know anybody that does that. So let's move all our viewports to the new viewports layer that's colored yellow and never plots out. We'll close the layer property manager. We'll select all three of the viewports and move them all three to the viewports layer. So now you hit escape to deselect. You can continue to work. You can continue to grip edit. You can continue to move your viewports, but they won't print out. And being so faint, you get a pretty close to plot preview. When you get into 3D work, there's several methods of developing 3D views. This is where your camera connected to the television set can be in a different location, besides having a different zoom in and out telephoto setting and a right, left, up, down pan setting. So with viewports, you can show top, front, and right side views of a machine part, and make it, as a courtesy. Sometimes you'll see some technical drawings with an isometric in the blank space in the corner of the three views. The other method that I teach in intermediate is converting an object into a polyline. Sooner or later, you might want to have a viewport that wraps around just the sink, so you don't see any of the soap and toothbrush and anything else outside. That would be on layout again. Instead of a rectangle viewport, drop down and select object. Now, before we select object, let's get some objects that we can create or we can convert into viewports. I'll set the viewports layer current. Certainly a circle is an object that can be converted to a viewport. I'm not sure. I'm shooting from the hip here, but I think an oval can be a viewport. We'll find out. By far, the most popular way is a polygon or a polyline. And when I do your handouts, I'm all the time making a viewport and wrapping it around C for close, so I get a close-up of the 3D view that I want without the parts next to it in models. Anyway, I think you got to modify them one at a time. Go to make a viewport out of an object, click. There's one. Click viewport again. Yep, oval works. Click viewport again. So there I just created 3 more viewports. Now check it out. These that are made by an object can be grip edited. So if I got a bunch of machine parts all drawn side by side in model space, I can grip edit the viewport. Whoa! So it doesn't, you know, it hides the mechanical pieces that are to the side. Recent AutoCAD, I forget which one, you can rotate a viewport, and it's literally like rotating a television set. I thought that was cool. There's a setting to whether it rotates the display or just makes the shape of the television look different. I think by default it rotates the display. Yep. So generally the title block and border are the only things that appear, well I shouldn't say the only thing, are the first thing to appear in paper space of the layout. Sometimes you'll see a list of revisions printed out on the paper space of the layout. Not sure which is common in industry, but you can always place your dimensions in paper space. There's pros and cons to doing that. You might, you know, put your text. All right, Burgener. Current layer 0. And you can jury rig a leader in paper space. There's pros and cons to this. I'll change the width to something wide, enter. And then the following width back down to 0, enter. All right, be that way. Solid is a command that does triangles quick and dirty. So it's a quick and dirty way to make leaders. Unfortunately, as was showing one of you after class one night, what happened. All right, Burgener, D for delete. When you move the display, there I find it took a while to activate the viewport. When you move your display or you pan or zoom, you know, the leader no longer points to it. So it's a good idea to weld, you know, cut the wires to the remote control cameras before you start putting annotation in paper space that points to the stuff seen through the viewports that live in model space. So that's called locking a viewport. So again, before you start putting arrows and dimensions and maybe revision clouds or whatever, select all your viewports and lock them. That's a property of the viewport. Or a shortcut is simply right click and go here to display locked. Yes, I wanted to lock the display. Interesting, it's so hard to double click. Now if I try to zoom or pan in this rotated rectangular viewport, it will not alter the display in the viewport. And I still come across handouts. Like here's my handout for the final exam. Yeah, this looks like the first one I did with that basic shape. I believe it's locked. Let's find out. I'll double click. See, I pan and zoom. The wires have been cut to the telephoto on the remote controlled camera. So I need to select it, right click, and go to display lock, can change it to no. And now I can zoom in and out. And like here's this year's handout. That's a viewport showing just REC, enter this much of my model space. Next quarter I might use this one. Quarter after that I might use this one. Where are we? 10 to 5. Still got all 6 of you participants. Any questions so far? Let's create a bunch of layers. Layers can be how to put this? The properties of layers can be based or can be dependent on the viewport. I'll set current 2, 4, and 5 I got here. So I'll go into model space, L for line. That's on layer 5. I'll make layer, what did I say, 2, 4, and 5. Okay, layer 4 is green. What's another color? Well, I got stuff on 2 layers here. Let's return to the layout. Right now, everything displays through the viewport. But there might be viewports that I do not want dimensions to show. Or I might not want the electrical or the HVAC to show. So I can double click to activate this viewport. There we go. Interesting. Looks like you got to have the viewport totally on your screen for it to get active. I could freeze a specific layer in only this one viewport. I think I can do it from here. Let me remind you, there's this layer freeze icon. So while my hands are through the viewport, I can click on this magenta layer. And now forever in this viewport, the magenta stuff will be invisible. In fact, there's ways, I don't think this is good practice, but you can, while the viewport is active, you can say through this viewport, I want everything to be a special, a different color. Kind of stepping out of the boat here. Let's see, we'll make through this viewport, I want everything on layer 5 to be this color number 80. So did it make a change? No. Okay, my bad. Changed them in every viewport. Hate it when that happens. Okay, this is layer number 4. Okay, I'm at a loss on, everything I've shown you now changes the color of the layer in all the viewports, but I'm sure there's a way you can, maybe it's farther here to the, here we go. Damn it, sorry. Way over here to the right in the VPC column, I'll change layer 5 from light green to say light blue. So I believe in the one active viewport, I can control the color of the layer similar to controlling the freeze thaw of the layer. I can even change the, well, I don't have any line types loaded. Let me change the line weight. So in this active viewport only, stuff on the layer 5 layer will be cyan and 2 millimeters fat. Close that and turn on LWT, and nothing happened. Okay, layer 5, cyan. I think I got layer 5 frozen in the viewport. That's why it's not showing. There we go. So only in this one viewport, stuff on layer 5 is cyan and fat. And if I had line types loaded, I could make it appear center or phantom or any one of the line types. You can rename layouts. Layout 1, 2, 3. Only are so good. So rest your cursor on the layout tab. Right click. And I can rename it. I can copy it. Page Setup Manager rigs it to a specific printer in your building, or to a PDF printer or a JPEG printer. Let's rename it. Say this layout is trailer and sink. You can copy the layout, maybe make it for a different printer or a different size sheet of paper, or portrait instead of landscape. The hard part is remembering to click this silly little create a copy box. For some reason, it's intuitive that I'm making a copy, but it's move or copy. So you got to clarify, I want to create a copy. Next question is, well, where do you want it to be? You want it to be before the original? Do you want it to move to the far right end? Let's move it to the far right end. There's the copy of the layout I just created. I want to rename it, of course. I might want to change the paper from landscape to portrait. That would be in the Page Setup Manager. Modify the layout. Change the drawing orientation to portrait. I'm not sure here at home how many different, I'm kind of stepping out of the boat here because I don't, I don't have any printers connected, but it looks like I'm gonna, my background paper size is gonna go to I used to have these memorized. I'm guessing that's C size, but can't remember for sure. Click OK. Click close. And now just clean it up so that everything fits on the viewport. That's interesting. You scale a viewport and the zoom scale does not stay relative to the size of the viewport. And that's interesting. When you after you rotate a viewport, it's no longer permanently rectangle. I never noticed that. These are locked. Clicking and clicking and clicking. I can't get back into paper. There we go. I forgot what I want to do. Okay, I wanted to get to the display lock status. I might go to a plan view, PLAN, enter, enter. Like we're looking straight down the Z-axis again. I can't remember where that dimension came from. It gets a little confusing when you've got viewports on overlapping viewports. Now, how in the world am I going to activate this little one that's totally surrounded by a big one? Watch it make a liar out of me, but I'm going to double click in here and I think it'll activate and deactivate the big one. Yep, activated the big one. So how in the world can I activate the small one within? Well, one way is to temporarily move it outside, but there's another type-in command that allows you to go paper space by clicking the status bar. I think it's Control L. There we go. Control R lets you toggle from viewport to viewport, I assume in the order that they were created. So you can get activated a small viewport within another viewport. Back to intermediate class. This is our page 2-1 for the second week of intermediate class. I've got these weird viewports so that I don't get garbage from the 3D object next door within the viewport. Going into model space. Yeah, everything we saw in the viewport is a 3D angle of these little 3D objects. I think it's southwest isometric. Nope. Southeast isometric. Yeah, there they are. Sorta. So each one of these viewports is sort of a view from the southeast isometric perspective. Tweaked it a little bit. There's, how do I bring up the toolbar here? There we go. Click on navigational bar on the view tab. Now, a 3D tool I like is on this flyout here on this, what's it called, navigational toolbar. I like free orbit, and that'll allow me to fine tune so that I can get a viewport only displaying these 3D objects. Next question comes up, well, what if you want, you know, how do you spray paint these things? Well, that's a matter of the visual style. I've never known, for some reason, I don't think you've seen these in introductory, so maybe they, I'm not sure when they appear or if they're always there. Let's change it to say conceptual. And there we spray painted the color of the layer. You know, the second week I'll have you make these boxes with the box command or the extrude command. And we copy and stack these boxes to form these little stair steps and doodads. Another visual style that I like is X-ray, that kind of has the advantages of conceptual, but you can still see the endpoints in the background to snap to them. A visual style that I think only an architect would like is sketchy. Give it the old hand-drawn look. Hidden is same as wireframe, but you only see with stuff close to you. For some reason, when solids overlap like this, AutoCAD's not smart enough to show you the, you know, the line right at the overlap. But it will look good in the higher tech visual styles. Our final for the class is making one of these bird houses. I'll use free orbit. Okay, that's continuous free orbit. Free orbit. So our final project unless y'all want something different, would be to make a birdhouse with a dozen different rules. The perch is something that's kind of machined on a lathe with the revolve command. And I think we'll blockify this whole thing. Yeah, this object is welded together with the block command, kind of like a polyline. All the pieces become the same part. So you pick anywhere, you move the entire assembly. But once we get into blocks, next step is assigning attributes to the block. I guess I don't have any attributes assigned to this, but attributes are little tiny databases. It might tell you, it might say weight, price, model number, date of purchase. You can add a 50-line spreadsheet or database to blocks with all this type-in data that you want.
Question.
Yes, sir, Dan.
Is there a way to calculate center of gravity in weights?
For a single solid, it's doable. I don't know if for this assembly, if we could get center of gravity. Now, AutoCAD's smart enough to know the XYZ of this object, and with that, and maybe the weight typed in, you can do list and trim calculations with attributes. Your diesel engine has attributes, your reduction gears has got attributes, and with a spreadsheet you can calculate how much the thing will list when you launch it. Good question. Let me explode this guy. Hope I remember to not save these patterns. Why did it not? Okay.
Are you moving your USC?
Yeah, we'll cover USC. That's you don't have to live with Z being up, X and Y being on the grid. You can have your XY plane live on the side or on this slope surface. So you can literally place text on this slope surface by controlling the user coordinate system. Let me move, say, this front piece away. And okay, we can calculate the volume.
Yep, that's on the path towards getting a CG.
Okay, I think I should pick object. So this thing has got almost 79 cubic units to it. There is a way you can do more than just these. There's a way if you got like an I-beam shape. I vaguely recall you can get the moment of inertia, which it kind of tells you how much of a diving board that I-beam will act like. I can't remember how to get to those. Might be something to add to the class, the intermediate.
Yeah, we use it quite a bit, and certain groups have the need for it. Lifting and handling group and the fixtures groups I mean, even engineering, they a lot of times want to know where the CG is and what the weight is combined and stuff like that.
Now on a closed polyline, you could O-snap to the geometric center. I'm on viewports layer. Let's say I want a line, shift right click, geometric center. I'm not sure if that's the center of gravity for this two-dimensional object or not. I guess it is. I don't know if there's a similar O-snap that'll O-snap to the 3D point. That's the center of mass or center of, let's find out. Line, shift right click. I think geometric center is my only choice. Oh, 3D snap. I don't see any geometric
point clouds?
Say again, Dan.
What's the definition of a point cloud? There's a lot of options in there for point clouds.
10 years ago, maybe. Yeah, you can get a desktop scanner, 3D scanner now for $1,000, I guess. Probably dropping. I worked with a $2,000 3D scanner for a while, and it develops a three-dimensional package of points for every 1/10 of an inch spot on your object. You with me?
Oh yeah, that's for measuring like cylindricity and things of that nature for machining, right?
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it, but I believe you're right. If you could use a 3D scanner to make a 3D solid model of an existing object. There's a YouTube video of Jay Leno's garage where he had a part of the cooling system had rotted a part of an antique car. So we borrowed one from a club member or something and 3D scanned it, and they ended up making a plastic 3D model of it from which they can sand cast a working model.
Nice.
I had a project at Langley 5 years ago where there's all sorts of stuff hanging from the ceiling. And I wanted to know what the thing that hung down from the ceiling the furthest was. So our GIS mapping guys asked a favor from NASA, and they set up a tripod 3D scanner that had a gazillion tiny little points of everything in that room. And unfortunately, they didn't, develop it into a 3D model and render it and all. But altering the 3D view, you might easily determine whether it's the lighting fixture hangs lower or the bridge crane or, I don't know, you might, I can't imagine it being in the night school program, but you can learn those 3D scanning stuff and 3D printing. I haven't thought of a need yet for a 3D printer. But
yeah, they're starting to do that in the shipyard.
Good.
They're printing parts that actually used on boats.
Now, is that done with a MIG welder?
No. It's a 3D printer that basically sprays metal into the pattern and the shape and the volume in layers. They can actually spray a ball with inside of a socket, and the tolerances are so tight that the ball rolls around within the second part.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff.
Well, you know, you know more than I do about it, but I'm a little skeptical because there's one 3D printing method that uses like aluminum dust. And somehow in a liquid they print with this aluminum dust in a paste. And the sales brochure might make you think it's got the tensile strength of aluminum, where I believe it's much, much weaker than aluminum because it's aluminum particles with a plastic or some sort of medium that holds them all together. So it interests me that the shipyards found a way to, literally make a propeller that's fully functional.
Yeah, I think there's a valve in service right now on one of the boats. They had a picture in the Currents of it several months ago, but I don't think it's a paste in aluminum. The methodology is different. I think it's more like spraying liquid metal.
You can spray aluminum. You just get it hot and blow it through a tungsten nozzle, I guess. I went to an open house at NASA and they had a MIG welder that worked just like the plastic 3D printers, but put down a bead of metal. Those probably approach the tensile strength of the wire used in the welding.
Cool stuff. So did we meet the quota yet for the intermediate class? The number of people necessary to make it?
Yeah, I forget the numbers, but we definitely have more than 10.
Oh, that's good news.
There's a risk if too many drop out, too many no-show the first day, they got the right to cancel a class. I think they might have done that a couple times in my time.
Well, it's a good thing you did this teaser. It'll make people give them an appetite for it.
I hope so. And I'm wondering if they say, well, gee, I know everything I'm going to learn, so why bother going?
Oh, there's a ton more to learn. Especially when it comes to creating models in another system and then bringing it over and manipulating it like we've been doing in hybrids.
Let me go to some more handouts. Here, week 6, I want one of us might make a block of a file cabinet, another one a block of the desk, and we can populate a cube farm or a house with all the blocks shared by other people. Let's see. Why is week 4 blank? There we go. This is the lesson where we lathe an object with the revolve command. Yeah, this is out of your book of exercises. Here we're going to make a leg of a table out of wood. By overlapping 2 of the pieces of wood, we can come out with a tapered table leg. And one exercise is to snap everything together to make a nice little end table or coffee table. Okay, here's a 2-dimensional lesson. You can activate this thing. Say I want to erase all the lines that are 45 degrees. Select them all, right click. Whoops, what happened? Oh, this if you I dislike this feature, but if you double click on the edge of a viewport, it kind of thinks you want to fill the screen with what's in that viewport. Students always ask me, how do I get out of this? Double click again on this blue line and it'll get you back where you were. Anyway, with properties, you can filter. Out of all this stuff collected, I want to select only lines whose angle is 45. In fact, a couple of you I nitpicked because I found an object whose color was not by layer, or line type was not by layer, using this method. Click OK, close this. And I believe all the lines that are at 45 degrees are selected to be copied or moved. You know, these two are not 45, so they were not selected. Let's find out. E for erase. Yep. Not sure what angle this is at. Okay, that's at 225, so just happened to be drawn in the right direction. And here's another exercise. We can select all the circles, say, and make them all the same diameter. Okay, select all the circles. Why is OK not lit?
Change equals to something else. Select all. There you go.
Click OK. The only stuff selected are the circles. Let's do the nuts.
You go to properties, but I think you can avoid one step by just going to quick select. If you start over again, Paul, trap it, right click, quick select. Down at the, yeah. Isn't that a similar?
Okay,
isn't it the same
I think
window?
quick select is the icon that I had been, yeah, quick select.
Yeah, so you're doing 2 more clicks to get into the quick select.
Now filter, I'm kind of shooting from the hip here, but there's a way you can write a database query. I'll select everything whose color is green and whose length is longer than 25 and whose Z coordinate is below 0, and do all sorts of database queries, but that's more high tech than I can think of a use for. Programmers might do that. What else we got? Yeah, it's not till week number 5 that we get into viewports. Not sure why I made it so late, but I might give you a starter file rather than ask you to make this 3D object. But once you got a 3D object, I want you to make a top view, a front, and a right side view where everything lines up perfectly. Looks like this viewport got a wee bit up. There. Hey. Damn it. Why is that not grip editing? There we go. You know, it's polite when you make a machine part that the views perfectly line up. So the top of it in one view perfectly lines up with the top of it in the adjacent view. Center of this circle. Okay, that's a bad example because there happens to be a visible line through that, you know, at the same point as the center. Here's a lesson where we put a user coordinate system on, you know, all sides of this little house shape. I used to have a handout where we literally made a house. And by constantly changing the user coordinate system, you could build dormers and a porch and a set of stairs and all sorts of things. That might be in one of the lessons I haven't looked at yet today. Well, how are y'all doing on the final assignment? I don't see any email messages with attachments coming in. I think you sent them to my Yahoo account. Well, the three of you that I have not yet received the final, again, I can receive it as late as Sunday midnight. Prefer to get it before then. And I believe Sherry is going to forge my signature or just use a fancy font so it looks like my signature. And you'll get your certificate through inter-office snail mail. Let me show a intermediate topic. I got 15 more minutes here, 10-ish or so. One topic that students made me throw out was images. Let me see if I can find one of the old
What do you mean by throw out?
On the end of the class. Oh, that reminds me. Y'all should have received I believe, a Word file or a fill-in-the-blank PDF to evaluate this class.
Yes.
And my boss, Tom Bauer, sent it out to, I don't know, half a dozen instructors and said that only 3 had been turned in. So please get those turned in. And I'm sure one of the questions is what could be removed, or how could the class be improved, or you know, what topics you had absolutely no interest in that were a waste of time. You know, students have said they don't like images; they want to concentrate on solid modeling.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can. I don't think my folders go back that far. Here we go, images to trace. I tried to teach this years ago to the AutoCAD user group, but I used the word borrow an image off the internet. You screen capture an image off the internet. And some lawyer says, "Oh, copyright infringement." I didn't think there was time to modify it without, borrowing images stolen from the internet. Anyway, you get these screen captures and overlap them. Yeah, like this close-up here, section of Newport News almost lines up with the lower resolution screen capture of much larger area. Well, then what the hell? Let's go ahead and do it. No, I don't want politics. Let's go to damn it. Maps.google. One of the exercise I had was calculate the piping run from the water tower on Warwick to the Dorothy at the shipyard. Where's the water tower? Oh, don't tell me they took out the water tower. Well, anyway, we'll try to keep this short. If it's not too late, we can screen capture this with snip. I think all computers have a snipping tool now. You might have to search for it. Yeah, type snip down here and the type here to search. You come up with the snipping tool. There's other ways without a snipping tool though. Let's say I want to capture this much, oops, new capture, say this much of the area. We'll save it as a JPEG file. I'll just leave it named capture for now. And we'll go into an AutoCAD new drawing. Da, 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 da. Use the image attach command, which I think is insert. Yeah, here we go, attach. And I want to look at for all image files. I'll go to where I saved that image a minute ago. There it is. No, that's July 13th. Where the heck did the folder go with student turn-ins? I might have carelessly dragged the, anyway, let's see if I can find a image that already exists. Please stand by. Where'd that academic folder go? Well, let me show you some work samples. Yeah, bad example. This is taking a lot longer than I thought, but anyway, by capturing an image off the internet that has a bar scale somewhere in it, you know, maps.google, the bar scale is in the lower right corner, so include the bar scale in the lower right corner, and with the scale command's reference option, you can enlarge the image so that bar scale is accurate, so that you can click 2 points with the distance command and it'll tell you the number of feet between those 2 points. You know, if you got the bar scale showing 1,000 feet is this length, and I think I did this work several years ago in the former life. You know, this is a ro-ro ship. I forget where, which installation this is. But after blowing up the image to full scale, so I can, you know, trace roads and railroads and, you know, new parking lots, I could literally plan a new parking lot. These spacings is the 9.5 feet by 18.5, whatever, you know, a couple weeks ago we did. And I could literally place CAD on top of the image to show a conceptual view of this project if, you know, if it gets funded. And you know, I invite students to screen capture their own neighborhood or all the way to the interstate, and kind of develop a PDF file showing a map to get to their house, and possibly showing a red line around 3 or 4 blocks for this is a mile-long jogging path, and the green one is a 3-mile jogging path. And another use for images, I got a lot of gaskets and bicycle sprocket and, you know, lots of flat stuff, flat pieces that are scanned along with a tape measure in the scan, and you can scale that scanned image of the bicycle sprocket so the tape measure is accurate and heads up digitize the sprocket. So it's kind of like a reverse engineering tool. And if you got a broken part in the field and nobody can find the drawings, you can scan it, scale it, and trace it in AutoCAD and develop the manufacturing drawings just out of the scan with scaled to full size. What else? XREFs is a topic. I don't know how students like or not, but that's where one of us might have the foundation drawing, and then I might have the electrical. I might be responsible for the electrical. Well, I want to have the floor plan in the background so I can put my symbols for the light switches and the fluorescent lights and the suspended ceiling, and then so that way you can have a half a dozen people, or I don't know, maybe 50 people working on the same drawing. Each one has a different specialty, and each one is using other people's drawings as a background, so that the interior decorator can select the select the furniture and put it in around the room the way he or she recommends. And then if the background somehow changes, the guy working on the foundation or the walls drawing, if something changes, you get a little bubble in the lower right of your screen saying, hey, your background changed or your XREF changed. Do you want to update it? You click OK, and it shows you, whoops, the guy stretched the foundation another 3 feet, so I better stretch my walls another 3 feet to catch up. And then the floor covering specialist sees that, whoa, we better stretch my floor covering to catch up with the walls. Everybody's catching up with everybody. What are other topics we can get into?
What is that called? XREF?
Correct.
Nice.
I guess
that's it.
Well, there's we can do surfaces. And with surfaces, you can almost act like you're working with chicken wire to develop a Macy's parade float. I don't think you can quite do a Shrek cartoon with AutoCAD. You can, in my opinion, surfaces are for entertainment or sales sake only. I'm far more interested in solids for machine parts. I'm sure 10 minutes after I stop the recording, I'll think of more topics that could be an intermediate. I got 5:50 holding you overtime, so any last comments before I stop the recording?
Thanks a lot. Appreciate everything you taught us.
My pleasure. Again, get those evaluations completed and replied back to Tom Bauer. I think I sent an email of when the intermediate class starts. Again, it's going to be an hour later than we did here in the introductory. Not sure why, but that's better for me. I have to take less time off of work, off my day job.
Probably production was waning.
Yeah. All right, let's call it a class. Call me or email if you think of anything I can help you with.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
See you in intermediate, sports fans.